I used to think the Prime Minister was a decent man, somebody that I could talk to and chat to. We might disagree on worldview, but I thought he was a profoundly decent human being. I am completely shocked at his behaviour. I hope when he wakes up tomorrow morning, he feels ashamed of what he has done.
It started with just 7 words. Britain is broken. Britain needs reform. Posted by Nigel Farage at 8 a.m, the message exploded across social media. Within minutes, it hit every front page, every newsfeed, every television screen. Farage had thrown a gauntlet at the Prime Minister's feet, and Britain picked it up. Commentators called it a declaration of war on the establishment. Supporters called it the truth nobody else would say. Even Labour insiders admitted privately, the timing was lethal. Hours later, Westminster was bracing for Prime Minister's questions, but this wasn't going to be an ordinary Wednesday. The tweet had shifted the atmosphere entirely. Cameras were primed, tempers short, and the man leading Reform UK was about to confront the most powerful leader in Britain face to face. Downing Street sources later admitted Starmer was already furious before he even entered the chamber. That one tweet had done what years of opposition couldn't. It got under his skin. What happened next would break parliamentary history wide open. 12:15 p.m, the House of Commons. Every seat was filled and each lens was focused. Prime Minister's questions begin. The Speaker summons Nigel Farage to speak and the room becomes silent for a minute. He rises quietly, with no shouting or theatrics, only precision. Mr. Speaker, he begins, his voice calm but sharp, the Prime Minister promised to regain control of our borders. Instead, there were 45,000 illegal crossings this year, hotels spending £8 million per day, and now leaked documents suggest secret talks with Brussels about rejoining EU migration schemes. Gasps reverberate over the benches. Labour MPs exchange worried glances. Farage does not pause. British citizens voted for sovereignty. What they received was treachery disguised as sympathy. So I question the Prime Minister. When will he admit his policies have failed? The room holds its breath. Starmer's jaws constrict. A flare of red runs up his neck. Then he snaps. How dare you lecture this government about compassion when all you do is spread hatred and division, he exclaims, getting to his feet. The chamber erupted. The Speaker's voice breaks through the chaos. Order! Prime Minister, please take your seat. But Starmer does not. This is no longer politics. It is rage. The temperature in the room has reached boiling point. The Speaker appeals for calm, but Starmer is beyond reason. His finger jabs across the aisle, and his voice is suddenly shaking. You have no right to talk about British values, the man yells. You've spent your entire career dividing our country. You are a disgrace to this chamber. MPs freeze in shock. Even seasoned members who have witnessed decades of yelling battles remain impassive. This is something distinct. It is not a discussion. It is a breakdown. The Speaker cautions him again. Prime Minister, you will resume your seat immediately. Starmer refuses. I will not. For the first time in live memory, the Speaker invokes the nuclear option. Standing Order 43, he announces. The Prime Minister is directed to withdraw from the chamber immediately. A gasp echoes around the room. Cameras zoom in. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom stands startled. You can't be serious, he murmurs. I am entirely serious, adds Speaker Hoyle. Security, escort the Prime Minister from the floor. The entire country stares in disbelief as 2 officers approach. Starmer's shoulders slumped. Nobody moves to aid him. And then the unexpected happens. Britain's leader is hauled out of Parliament live on television. It takes less than a minute to demolish 3 centuries of political traditions. The video is going viral like crazy. Clips of the Prime Minister being escorted out appear on every platform, including Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and late-night American talk programs. Within 5 minutes, the hashtag PM thrown out went viral globally. Reform UK's website crashed within an hour due to a spike in new memberships. Farage goes out of Parliament, surrounded by cameras, and makes a brief, scathing remark. What we watched today, he continues calmly, was not leadership. It was a loss of control. The British people deserve order, not anarchy. Dignity, not desperation. The contrast is brutal. Starmer, red-faced and enraged. Farage, measured and composed. The optics reveal the entire story. Panic breaks out within Labour's headquarters. Angela Rayner allegedly described Starmer's outburst as catastrophic. Senior ministers start drafting letters of concern. Pollsters refresh dashboards that show approval ratings dropping by the hour. By midnight, commentators were describing it as the largest live political implosion in modern British history. Starmer's press office cancels all appearances. The Prime Minister himself disappears from public view. But the quiet simply makes everything worse. As one BBC commentator put it that night, "We've seen resignations, scandals, rebellions, but never this. The moment a Prime Minister lost not just his temper, but the country. And it all started with a single tweet. Britain is broken. Britain needs reform." By dawn, Britain was unrecognisable. Front pages screamed, "Prime Minister ejected," "Parliament in panic," "Britain in meltdown." Clips of the incident played continuously on breakfast television as astonished anchors sought to make sense of what they'd just witnessed. The figures expressed the narrative more effectively than words could. Overnight, Keir Starmer's personal approval rating plunged by 15 points, the greatest single-day drop in contemporary British politics. Labour's nationwide support dropped to 28%. Reform UK has risen to 23% and is still growing. In working-class communities across the north, traditionally Labour's base, the mood was tumultuous. Call-in shows were filled with fury. "If he can't control himself in Parliament," one listener said, "how can he control the country?" Even faithful Labour voters appeared rattled. Focus groups used terms such as unstable, embarrassing, and unfit. Meanwhile, Farage's 7-word tweet said, "Britain is broken." "Britain needs reform" became the movement's slogan. It was printed on banners, mugs, and t-shirts. Clips of his cool demeanour after Starmer's tantrum received tens of millions of views. The question resonating across Britain was not, will Farage last? But, is this man the next Prime Minister? By Friday, Westminster's dilemma had evolved into something more significant, a national realignment, and it was merely the beginning. Inside Labour headquarters, panic erupted into revolt. Angela Rayner called an emergency meeting with top MPs. "We can't defend the indefensible," she informed them. "He has disgraced the party. It is over." Letters of no confidence began to arrive at the Parliamentary Labour Party office around midday, starting with a handful and soon hundreds. Cabinet ministers stopped answering Starmer's calls. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, quietly cancelled her morning interviews. Outside, Rishi Sunak, the Conservative leader, seizes the situation. "A Prime Minister who cannot control himself," he stated, "cannot control the country. We will immediately table a motion of no confidence." Even within the Speaker's office, constitutional shockwaves reverberated. Can a Prime Minister ousted from Parliament continue to govern effectively? Had the Speaker's authority exceeded all precedent? The markets wobbled. The pound dropped. Foreign leaders were hesitant to remark, unsure whether Starmer remained technically in power. Meanwhile, Reform UK's headquarters was abuzz. Volunteers flooded in. Donations flowed in quickly than the system could process. For the first time in British history, an outsider movement replaced the establishment rather than simply upsetting it. Nigel Farage stood before reporters that evening, composed and thoughtful. "This isn't about party," he said. "It's about leadership, composure, and the courage to speak truth to power." And as he walked away, one journalist whispered, "He's not campaigning anymore. He's auditioning for number 10. 3 weeks later, Britain had changed irrevocably. Starmer's government was on life support. Labour MPs, anxious to save their party, were already contemplating who might succeed him. Rayner? Reeves? Lammy? None could agree because the public had already made their decision. According to polls, Reform UK has surpassed Labour for the first time in history. The Conservatives dropped to third. The political order that had ruled Britain for generations was collapsing before the world's eyes. In Clacton, Farage addressed a raucous audience, waving Union Jacks. "We didn't break the system," he claimed. "We exposed it, and now we're taking it back." As he went off the platform, chants of "Reform! Reform!" Reform shook the coastal atmosphere. Meanwhile, at Downing Street, Keir Starmer sat alone at his desk. The file before him was stamped with red ink. Standing Order 43, Prime Minister Conduct. The rule that ruined him. He mumbled to no one in particular. All that over 7 words. Outside, Big Ben struck midnight. As the cameras panned over Westminster, the narrator's voice faded in and asked, "Was this the day Britain broke, or the moment it finally began to reform?"